Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, and welcome to another episode of Fanalysis, Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm Reti4, this is Greyjoy91,
Hello.
and this is Antoine Bandelet.
Be water, my friends.
Matt, lead us into the summary.
Oh, this is book 2, episode 16, Appa's Lost Days. It's like kind of like a clever clip show almost, where we get to see like where Appa's been over like the past few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's
months?
4 weeks. I think it's set 4 weeks earlier or something, I believe is the
Okay.
tagline that comes up.
Since he went missing back in the desert. So anyhow, let's get into this with Appa's Lost Days.
Opening up with the Sandbenders, recapturing or capturing them again, basically just gets to play through the scene that we saw in the library, in case anyone had missed that episode prior. And yeah, it kind of leads us straight into a little bit of world building when they take him away, because we get to see hear mention rather of like the Hami tribe, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but it's nice to have them talk as though there is a world outside of the story that we know of.
Is that the glider the gang finds?
Possibly actually.
I can't
Yes,
remember.
Yeah,
it is the
I hadn't thought
the
about
one
that.
they break, or the one that Appa breaks is like, it's okay, we still have from the Hami tribe, so
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
And they end
Yeah.
up finding that one.
Yeah, I
and
hadn't
then
put it to.
repairing
explains why
It's,
they just
yeah,
found it.
it's been months since I watched that last episode, so I hadn't put together that that was actually the one they found. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah,
I think
nice
we might
little
have-
trail of breadcrumbs as well, because they kind of Aang inadvertently tracks Appa in certain ways without really realizing it.
We might have actually watched that one last year from our perspective.
Possibly.
It was a while ago.
It's a smooth
Yeah,
transition, guys. We definitely do these week by week.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, the most what I have to say about this part is just the nice little bit of world building. Like I said, the mention of the other tribe, the beetle merchants in the desert. It's a small insignificant thing, but it lets you know that there is a world outside what we see from the main gang. Operating
Mhm.
separate from them, so that's cool. But leads on to Appa being taken to the circus. He kind of fades out, and they clearly trying to sell him off to them to get him off his hands. And
I
this is
forgot-
just is it the same one as Tali's circus?
I'm not sure. I mean,
I
I
don't
know
think
it's the
it's ever
same
clarified.
circus,
It's
but I don't know if
definitely
it's the
Fire
same.
Nation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, it's Fire
Um,
Nation, but I wasn't sure if it was the same one.
Because the guy that we see the most, like the tamer or whatever, the horrible guy,
Mm.
he's not the ringleader. So the ringleader would have to be the same if it was the same circus.
Right.
And he showed up at one point, but I can't remember if he was the
Yeah,
same
I
one
don't
that
think he is
Azula
then.
was tormenting.
Either way, yeah.
But I forget about this because I don't really watch this episode very often when I repeat my viewings of the show. I skip this one sometimes. So I haven't seen this particular one in years. So I forgot like all about like that there was a kid that looked and sounded just like Aang at the circus that like kind of helped him out.
Well, it's not just that. He looks like Sokka and talks like Aang. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same voice actor.
Looks like Sokka. Like I guess he has Sokka's
Yeah,
hair, but
he
he
looks
like
just
Aang.
like Sokka,
Yeah.
and
He
sounds
puts
like
Sokka's
Aang.
hair on Aang.
The only thing they
Aang's
couldn't get in there was a Katara.
I should have worn a dress. Yeah, no. I found it was the most thing worthy of note. I think in that setup, the circus thing was pretty much what we'd seen before. There was nothing new in terms of that. It was just a case of it was a nice nod to the connection that Appa has, and a good trigger for the flashback that we get. Because he wait, no, that's not later. That comes later, isn't it? You get a bit of a flash, like you see a brief nod to the connection, and then leads in later for the flashback where
Yeah.
they get to establish their meeting. It's cool
It's
that's
pretty
what
much-
triggers Appa's
yeah.
kind of courage, because it shows how kind of Aang drives him. Because it's the
Yeah.
first time we're really getting a little look into Appa's mentality, really. And we've talked about it in the past, and you see flashes from when he's interacting with the other people, but this is the first time you see it from properly his perspective, which is cool.
pretty much the only time, really. Yeah.
Mm.
But so he goes back to the place where the library sank and is kind of like stuck, right? Like he doesn't know what to do from that point.
And then just spends the rest of the few days trying to work out how to survive, flying, kind of inadvertently going back over the gang's journey. So they've kind of chased each other's tails for this sequence, which is sad to see.
And then he winds up in like a farmer's barn, and it's
Mm.
like I feel bad for those folks because
They
you know,
completely they don't mean to be scaring him or anything. They're like, oh my god, it's a
Yeah.
giant person.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a giant flying.
That is a
That'd be
fully
horrifying,
legitimate
yeah.
response. Yeah. The guy just comes out to do something in the barn at the middle of the night and says, wow.
I think it was him and his wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
They find that. It's like, oh my god, no peace. We can't get any peace in Avatar.
Yeah, then Iroh. Well, no, that's when we get the flashback. That's when we get the flashback to the meeting of Aang and the first time they form their bond. which is cool to see.
Yeah.
I like the little details of the sky bison side of the temple. You know, like biting on the railing was really cool.
It was cute, mostly for me. Yeah.
Mm.
Just sort of like a boy and his dog kind of scene.
Yeah. But it's good to see because
Okay.
this is the first time we've kind of seen that explored from his perspective. So it's just it's something that had to be done at some point in the series. You know, it didn't have to be anything major, and it isn't here. It's just it's enough overall. And then we get Iroh spotting Appa on the ferry crossing. I love his reaction. He's like,
That was funny.
Yeah,
but he's
like,
like panic
don't-
moment. Don't mess this up right now. Don't mess this
Yeah, I
up.
know.
I'm making good
It's like-
progress with him.
I've got a good thing going here. I've got a really good thing going with Zuko, man. Like, can't you stay away, Avatar? Like, why do you have to be going to Ba Sing Se too?
It's literally the thought process going through his head. It's like, oh, it's brilliant to see.
And
Yeah.
this is the reason why I knew that Appa was somewhere near the outside of Ba Sing Se, because if he went over Full Moon Bay, where
Mm.
you know,
All right. Yeah, okay.
Iroh and Zuko are
Yeah.
ferrying, then it would make sense.
And that's fair enough. The only reason why I poke fun at it is because Aang's all, I can sense him. He's here.
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
I guess he can't, actually. But, oh, well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty far reach, but okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And then we get when he lands on the far side, Appa versus Porcupine. We don't really get a name for it, but it looks like a boar and a porcupine mixed together, or a hedgehog
Hey,
maybe.
if that's not the name, it should be. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it's the name.
But yeah, that he fights that, gets a bit even more matted and tangled, and he gets the spikes in him, and just gets to that horrible, pitiable state that is where we ultimately meet the Kyoshi warriors. They enter into the picture, and this is my favorite part of the episode. I mean, one, I love the Kyoshi
I
warriors, but
wonder
also
why.
I love the Kyoshi warriors, but also just the fact that it's the most action oriented and dynamic, and it has other characters to talk to and be nice to Appa, because everyone's been mean thus far except for the kid, who had an
Yeah.
abusive father.
It's
by the way.
it's probably my second or third favorite Azula fight, I would say, because I think I like I think first would be Agni Kai finale, then it would be the Zuko versus
I was gonna say, it better
Azula
be
at
the
the Western Air Temple, and then this one with the Kyoshi Warriors in terms of like choreography and like staging and framing.
I love the
really
lead
do-
into it. Oh, sorry, Matt.
I wish it had been like longer because it would got
Yeah,
me like
that's the only
really
thing is that it's a
hyped,
bit
and then
short.
it cut off, and I was like, "Damn it!" Like, that was gonna be badass.
It's an
I love
awesome
when, like,
transition.
you know,
It's an awesome transition.
It
When
is
they
really
snap
cool.
freeze, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. But
and I
why are
can
you
forgive
cutting?
that, but I wish when they eventually do re-encounter Suki, she could explain like what happened, or we could see
Yeah.
the event from her perspective, like get like a Suki's Lost Days episode maybe, where like we get to see how that ended. But
That would have
didn't
been really
happen.
cool.
But,
I like
but it was really cool.
These it's Netflix, like 4 episodes, so a lot of good the episodes that Azula comes back in anyway have a lot of good Azula lines, like with the fangirl comment here was just I found really funny. Obvious one, but still.
I was like, she stole my joke. It's like I made that joke. We talked about it, but I guess technically I would have stolen it from her and forgot she already made it. But anyway,
Also a good example as well of another one of the background characters actually doing something, because the Kyoshi warriors were actually fighting and for the most part doing pretty, or at least actively taking part in the fight, which is cool.
the one thing that I thought was dumb was like the banter. Like I think Ty Lee said, "You guys are not prettier than
I
us."
didn't like
And
that
was
either. I was like, that
"That's
does
a
not.
stupid line."
Yeah, that's a stupid line, and it doesn't really match Ty Lee at all. At least in
like
my mind.
there's just no context for why you would say that, like while fighting somebody. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. But yeah, I love the fight overall. I'm definitely top tier in my mind as well, Antoine.
Yeah, it's definitely in the top. It's not the top, but it's definitely like it definitely could have been longer. But like that there's that one shot in particular where Suki like throws out her sword, and then she like Zula does this like somersault in the air, and then like redirects it, and then throws it into the tree. I'm like, oh my god, it's so cool.
Yeah, the fact that
Even
the,
small
the,
point,
fact,
I'm like,
the, fact,
Lunged at her.
the fact that the
Yeah.
sword's being used at all, because it's not something the Kyoshi warriors are particularly known for in the show.
I don't think they used them last time, did they?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was
I
all
don't-
fans. But it was cool to see that. It was a nice it was just a nice bit of variation, because we don't see swords often in Avatar. It's surprisingly
Not too
rare.
often. You would think you see him a little bit more.
And then after that, Appa, who kind of gets what is it, Old Yeller, when he's saying go away, go get out of here.
No,
It's
Old
kinda like
Yeller,
that.
he shoots the dog. It's a different thing.
Oh.
This is a standard thing. This is like a cliche that happens in all like animal movies like that. Like, you have to get out of here, you dumb animal. Go away.
Get. I can't remember what that was. But yeah,
Maybe it was Old Yeller, but that dog dies at the end. Spoiler alert. But anyway,
like ancient film. But yeah,
Yeah.
Appa flies off, scared away by the fire, which is cool to know as well. The fear of fire was a good thing, a good Azula moment as well. Like, oh, you're scared of fire. Good, you should be. Very cool. She has a lot of good line work here. But yeah, he flies off and meets the Guru, who's about to become a lot more relevant in the for the main.
Well, also
gang as well.
just the fact that he went there. Also, we missed the part with Hakoda, because he's flying again over Chameleon Bay.
Yeah.
So like everybody's seeing him, where they're gonna either end up or where they've already been. In terms of it kind of wraps up. It's kind of like a midpoint of the end of the season, because it shows like where they came from, where like the library kind of starts the end of the season, and then like shows like where things are going to end up with Chameleon Bay, and then with the Eastern Air Temple. But it's kind of interesting that he would go there, because if he's lost the one place he, I guess, would find some sort of familiarity would be an Air Temple. So it kind of makes sense for him to venture there.
Or just desperately trying to find Aang or something. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, like, if Aang's anywhere, if he's lost or something, he probably would go back to the Air Temple and find
Which
me.
I guess is what the Guru was doing, like looking for the Avatar in these various spots, or
just going to where he knew his vision. His vision kind of made sure
that's
that.
true. I forget
one
about
of those two.
Right, the vision. Yeah.
There are so many visions in this show as well. I'd forgotten how many. Like these next few episodes, like wow, they come everywhere.
I like the music that plays with the Guru. I think that's really cool. That sort of. He has a unique. It's like a sitar sound, or like that sort of string instrument that plays. It's like a chimey sound whenever he's doing his Guru thing.
I have to say as well though. Just before we move on from his introduction section, Suki had a way more efficient way of calming Appa, because he just lies there for days on end, doing nothing.
Yeah.
And she soothes him in like 5 minutes flat.
That was like one of my favorite parts, though. He was like, "Oh, what? You don't want me to get up? Okay, gonna stay here until you fall asleep."
Well, I mean, she Appa
had some familiar.
That's true. That's true.
And also she had I don't know. It just like he hadn't gone through the trauma of being threatened by fire and everything like that again. So he was dealing with a more vulnerable Appa. But I was just going to lead into that, where I liked the kookiness of his introduction. Like, I'm just going to sit here for 3 days and just be
doing nothing, eating nothing, just being a guru. It was cool. Yeah. And I liked how it was. There were a few tropes played with it, and again later with Aang. But I like how they kind of simplistically get across the idea of who he's supposed to be as a spiritual person. It's quite cool, because especially for a show that's aimed at kids, where they're not going to have been introduced to some of these concepts yet. I thought they did a really good job of, particularly later in the when he becomes relevant later on in the series, when they kind of get across his whole shtick, and making it palatable and easy to understand. Doing it through Appa here, and kind of making that empathic connection with him, and kind of just soothing the beast, as it were, was a good way of doing it, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Especially considering Appa can't talk back. It's all the Guru just musing to himself. So,
yeah, which is, I think, probably most effective, because it's a part of it's like a sequence of an episode, where if there had been a whole episode, that might have dragged a bit, where it's just like you're just talking to like this animal the whole time. But because it's limited screen time, it doesn't wear out its welcome, and it fits nicely.
I love the moment when he's put the letter on his horn as well. May I attach this to your horn? This is very cool. I like the trust being reasserted between them. It was a nice round off for Appa. Oh, and I absolutely loved that line. But the fear has moved in where trust should be. That was beautiful in the way he was kind of sensing Appa's turmoil. It was really well done.
Shameless plug. You should read A Servant's Work by Matthew Chapman. It also has beautiful lines like that.
I don't even think I ripped this guy off, but the kind of that's what comes to mind, that kind of thing. I didn't even think of that. He's so not a favorite character. And I wrote a short story which is basically 1/3
all of him.
But anyway, that is true. You should check out A Servant's Work. It's in Antoine's myth. What is the whole mythos called, Antoine? Out of
Tales from Esselwan.
There you go.
Spelled with an O, not an A, despite the fact that all of us just went for A for some reason in our writing.
That's true. But so he makes his way to Ba Sing Se because the Guru told him to. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, he unlocked the spiritual kind of tracking. He went here, sent Sang, and follow him. You've got a connection, kind of thing, and sort of gave him the spiritual sense to go along. I guess it was not very clear, or not very explicitly stated, but that's what I got from it anyway.
That was like an effective sort of Yoda power, where it's just like I can just tell you to do this thing because I'm like a spiritual person, and I won't
Especially
question it.
considering his remark of the greatest illusion of all later on, when it's talking about the separation of things and how they're not
Yeah.
really separated. You know, having that bond be the trail to follow is pretty cool. It comes
Yeah.
back. But yeah, then Appa flies
Appa
back to Bar
runs
Sensei
into Long
and
Fang.
gets caught by Long Fang. Those Dai Li are doing work. Either they knew he was coming then, or they're just constantly watching the skies, which is a good if mostly wasteful plan for them.
It was good that it
That
happened at
has to
night.
be what
Because if
they're
it was a
doing, I think.
daytime, then the gang would have seen, because they're active during the day.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Actually, yeah, it makes more sense. Yeah.
Oh no, but he had the whistle too, so he called him to him, and he thought it was like he had like a bison whistle for some reason, and he called.
That's
Appa
true.
To that
Yeah.
spot where he
So
caught him.
unless it was, they must have known he was arriving somehow. Then a
So
scout
that
or
means
something.
that
Every
he
night
heard
he'd just
that
been
the
blowing.
Avatar. Yeah, like
Every
so
night
at
he'd
some
been
point
blowing
someone
that.
said the Avatar has a big bison. I need to buy a sky bison whistle in case I should ever need it, like weeks in advance.
And yeah, every day since they arrived, he's been blowing the whistle and nothing's
Yeah.
been happening. Oh, finally!
Finally.
Long Fang's lost days are him going to that market looking
Yeah.
for that particular whistle.
I love it. Yeah.
I want a Lost Days episode for all of the characters in this show. Give us that, Netflix. Anyway, yeah, that's the end of the episode. Not too much to talk about with this one. It's a lot simpler than most episodes, as it should be, you know, for the content it's covering. It makes good use of its time, gives us a nice little insight into Appa's mentality, and yeah, a little bit of backstory sprinkles here and there. That's all I have to say,
I
really.
agree. So let's do that sign off thing.
All right.
I am
cool.
ready for, and I still don't have an outro.
Vegeta 91, and I hate this process, but I do it anyway.
Antoine Vandelay, peace, love, and remember, be water, my friends.
Goodbye.